Many of us know the phrase, the lunatics are running the asylum. But for me, if we look at the modern world, through both the news and social media, the lunatics aren't just running the asylum, they're building fucking extensions on the asylum and enjoying afternoon tea on the lawn. So in this video, we'll be looking at just how mad the world has gone. Beginning with a news story about this lady, a Norwegian woman called Tonje, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce her last name. She is a filmmaker, a musician, and also a lesbian, but I think most of you will have worked that out from her photo. She has been informed by the Norwegian police she's under investigation for online hate speech, and if found guilty, faces 3 years in prison. What did she say that was so heinous that the Norwegian Old Bill are now investigating her? Well, posting to Facebook, because that's where I go when I'm looking for well thought out opinion, she made the terrible, hateful claim, men can't be lesbians. So in Norway, reality is now a hate crime. These are her actual words. It's just as impossible for men to become lesbian as it is for men to become pregnant. Men are men regardless of their sexual fetishes. She is factually correct. The dictionary definition of a lesbian is a woman who is attracted to and or engages in sexual activity with other women. And the definition of a woman is an adult human female. Not someone who identifies as a woman, a female, someone with the XX chromosomes. Therefore, men cannot be lesbians, but I have watched loads of their films. So who, in their right mind, would see a post on Facebook where a lesbian has written something which is the truth, and then report that person to the police? You already know who it's going to be. Surprise, surprise, a militant trans activist, a man in a dress using the name Christine Gentoft, took issue with Tonje's post. Now I'll say, as I always say, the vast majority of trans people are just trying to live their lives. They don't want any of this shit. But it's the few bad apples that give the entire trans community a bad name. So Christine contacted the police saying, I am a trans woman, I'm a lesbian and a mother. Why didn't the police tell him to fuck off? I think Norway's boys in blue should have charged him with wasting police time, but no, they're investigating it. But we've established a man cannot be a lesbian. A man also cannot be a mother. If you're born male, you don't have a uterus. It is 2022, why am I needing to say this out loud? Soon, another militant trans activist got involved. This thing that goes by the name Ingrid Frivold. And I just want to say, mate, why are you wearing a woman's swimsuit? You've got no breasts, you've got nothing you need to cover up. But this absolute piece of shit compared Tonje to a Holocaust denier. Ingrid is a particularly nasty piece of work because fuck his pronouns, he wrote a paper called A Penis in the Woman's Locker Room, in which he stated women will have to get used to trans women, that is biological men, entering female-only spaces such as locker rooms, changing rooms, etc. Places where women are likely to be in a state of undress and vulnerable. And if any woman takes issue with seeing male genitalia in a female-only space, those women have internalised misogyny and are bigoted. Talking of misogyny, I'm struggling to think of anything more misogynistic than a man demanding the right to go into a woman's changing room and whip his cock out. Or a biological man trying to get a lesbian put in prison for expressing an opinion. An important point here is that if we look at the LGBTQIA+ community, each of those letters represents a different movement. They just come together under the same umbrella. Now, I've been actively involved in gay rights for well over 20 years, because I don't think anyone gets to pick their sexuality. So the lesbians, the gays and the bis, I'm behind all day. I just heard that in my head, it sounds wrong. But lately, over probably the last decade or so, you get to the LGB and then it just turns into the fucking circus. And an important point is many of the L's really don't like the T's. Often with good reason, because many lesbians are hardline feminists. And women have fought for centuries to get something approaching equality. But in the last few years, some men have started putting on dresses and saying all of those rights you fought for, we're fucking having them. And it gets worse. There are multiple reports of young lesbians going away to college or university and being approached by trans women, so biological men, and being brainwashed into having sex with them because they're being told if you won't have sex with a trans woman, you're not a real feminist. Now, if a biological man is forcing a biological woman to have sex, there's another term for that. That term is grape without the G. Personally, I hope the authorities in Norway see sense and drop all charges against Tonje, and then invite the two trans activists to the police station so they could be routinely fucking tasered. But mentioning lesbians, there's another story in the news that Pornhub have released the information for 2022 telling us what we've all been watching. The most watched category in 2022 on the world's largest porn site was lesbian. Now that shouldn't come as a shock, I guess. But lesbian is the most searched category for women. I can understand that because in most straight pornography, the woman's just there to be used, degraded, and such like, to be nothing more than an object. Whereas, well, I guess, if a woman's having sex with another woman, there's a good chance that the other party will be able to find her clitoris. Add to that as well that women are all curvaceous and beautiful, whereas men, we're more practical. We're just made to move heavy shit. So the most popular category of pornography for women is lesbian. What about men? Well, that's where this story gets weird. In 2022, the most popular porn was hentai, anime-style Japanese cartoon sex. It is 2022, and apparently there are men out there who would rather watch cartoon pornography than actual people. What the fuck is going on? Moving on from that, there's another story about a trans woman and a video that went viral. Here it is.
Why? Stop. Why is this thing not hot? I swear to God, if anyone says welcome to womanhood, I'm gonna lose my...
That is a man who started hormone treatment claiming he's having period pains. Once again, I refer back to men not being mothers. If you don't have a uterus, you cannot have a period. Why is this person not just being laughed off the internet? But it could always be worse. At least a trans woman is still identifying as human. Be ready for this.
Hi, my name is Samuel, and I am a canine Therian. But what does this mean? A Therian is somebody who identifies as wholly or partially non-human, specifically as a non-human animal from this earth. Now, there are other forms of non-humans, and a person could identify as being non-human for a plethora of psychological or spiritual reasons. For me, I'm not sure which it is. I used to be certain that it was purely psychological due to neurodivergency. However, as I started to delve into my spirituality, I started to question if it was maybe a past life that affects my alter humanity. Either way, I feel a disconnect from other humans and to the part of my brain and soul that feels human. Instead, I feel like a dog or a wolf, which I know is extraordinarily common.
Right. I will agree with her on something. If we look at her, she is a fucking dog. And to engage in sexual activity with that woman, you'd have to do it from behind the way that canines do, because that face is a fucking erection killer. And as she's referred to herself as a dog, let's go through what the silly bitch is talking about. First up, love, your name isn't Samuel. Let's nip that in the fucking bud. Next up, is it psychological or spiritual? It is psychological. You are fucking insane. And throwing the word neurodivergent in there, that's very common. But that covers an absolute plethora, to use her term, of different conditions. I am neurodivergent, I'm dyslexic. The important difference between Samuel's neurodivergence and mine is I don't think I'm a fucking dog. And when she starts talking about past lives, well, unless you're a Hindu, please shut the fuck up. And the claim that this isn't uncommon. I don't know anyone who thinks they're an animal, but of course this person will interact with many others like her because they all live in fucking echo chambers. So that's where we are, coming up to the end of 2022. I can't fucking wait for next year. As ever, thanks for watching.